Boom! It's Monday. As my dog has decided, the mini schnauzer, it's Cuddle Your Teddy Bear Day. I don't know why. It just has. Anywho, hello, I'm Russ Kane. This is the Midday Show. You're very welcome. And follow us and subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button. Smash that. That's what every YouTube video you always say. And the guy goes, smash that like button. Smash it. Don't have to smash anything. Subscribe doesn't mean you pay anything. It's just you know when we're on. It'll be nice and get some like fantastic. And as ever, we have issues with the streaming. What can you do, man? What can you do? I'm waiting for the late Neil Long. A few things I want to say before we bring on our guest. Hello, Elaine. See, I can see you. You want to drop your camera a little bit there. Just drop your camera a fraction. That would be good. No, drop your camera, Elaine. There we go. That's better. That's it. Perfect. A few things I want to say, if I may be so bold, right? If I may be so bold. I wrote some comments about the opening ceremony of the Olympics on Facebook. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. What I was saying, for the heart of thinking, is this. People don't read. They come in with their preconceived notions and start screaming and shouting. They don't bother to read the comments. Are they thick? I don't know. No, they're just very opinionated, but they don't bother to listen to anybody else because it's about them. What I said was, and it's really very simple. Wouldn't it be a shame if the athletes who have dedicated their lives and years of training, the sort of training that you and I don't do, for this one event to represent their country, was smeared with what happened at the opening ceremony? Some of you liked the opening ceremony. Some of you were disgusted by the opening ceremony. I'm not even going to go there. I could talk about it for about an hour. The point I was making is that don't let the athletes who have worked so hard have their dream ruined by the people who put that opening ceremony together. They're not sports people. I don't know what planet they were on. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's the point. The athletes had nothing to do with it. That's what I was saying. It's not that tricky to understand. Afternoon. Hey, Fat Scotty. Is Tardy Long on? Hey, he is. And here's another very important thing. There he is. I can't. What? Who? Ha! Ladies and gentlemen, hi, everyone. Had a lovely weekend. So, she doesn't talk like that, but she lived in Houston, Texas. So for my purposes, she does. Hi, everyone. Had a lovely weekend celebrating Mom's 97th birthday. Kids gave her Jaeger bombs. She hasn't slept since. She'll be out clubbing next. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You love him. The king of comedy within a 2-mile radius of the Tolworth Tower, Neil Long.
Oh, I've got competition because we've got another comedian on today. Hello,
what?
Yes, I saw.
What?
We have another comedian on today. Unbelievable, huh? Unbelievable. Yeah, Julie, I saw your mum's 97th birthday on Facebook. Congratulations.
Isn't it incredible? What I love is she still goes to the bowls club. By the way, Julie Voice, formerly of Houston, now twinned with Guildford. Sorry. I went bowling with my mate Lloyd Beanie. He thought I was going to just take the mick out of him. I cleaned that up what I was going to say. I absolutely bloody loved it. It was fantastic fun. Going to go again if I can find time. I've got 2 funerals to do this week, a lot of writing, but if I can fit it in, I would love to join Beanie again at the Bowls Club. It was so much fun.
Beanie at Bowls.
Beanie Bowls. You never roll when you're Beanie Bowl. Everything's a jingle. How are you? I haven't seen you for like ages. It feels like ages and ages and ages that I have not seen you for.
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I went away for a few days last week.
Oh yes. Where did you go? Anyone? Are we allowed to know? Are we allowed?
Went to Hailing Island.
Yes. I'm very tempted to go there. I'd take you up on your very kind offer. I'll wait till midwinter.
No, it's not open midwinter. I wouldn't go then. It's not as nice.
I'm waiting till the wind is rocking everything. I'm sitting there on my own with a dog going, what the bloody hell have I just done?
Yeah.
Eating cold soup from a can.
Yeah, it's not quite as nice in the winter, I have to say.
No, hailing island, because there's nothing to stop the wind blowing in from like France or wherever the hell it's coming, Siberia. So it just goes. I've been to Hailing Island a few times. It's nice there. It's a nice part of the country. I'm going to ask you a question before we bring on the fabulous Elaine Blackmore. I'm saying she's fabulous. I'm assuming she is. You know her.
She's utterly fabulous.
Okay. All right. I want to ask you this question before I bring on Elaine. How much do you think the mainstream media... No. That's really a loaded question. Do you think the mainstream media are responsible for not helping this country?
Partly.
Tell you why I say this. There's a guy called Tommy Robinson. You all heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And somebody will say, well, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi. And you can make up your own mind about Tommy Robinson, okay? And he organized a march, which some of my friends went on, which was peaceful, which was polite, which was inclusive, flags from at least 12 different countries, all sorts of people there, no trouble, no aggravation, no fighting, nothing. So the mainstream media, most of it ignored it because they're told to. And the ones that covered it said, far right march. Well, my friends are like the most liberal people you could find. It's not far right.
But he does have that association, doesn't he? I mean, he's calmed down now.
He did have. But I think the things he's saying now, I don't agree with everything, and I don't always agree with the tone of the language. Anyway, you can't agree with everything. But 50,000 people, at least 50,000 turned up. No trouble, no nothing, no aggravation. They arrest him the next day. He's just been released. Now, whether you like him or whether you don't, explain this to me.
Hang on, for what?
What did they under the Terror Act? Neil's disappeared. Under the Terror Act. Yeah. They've released. They arrested him under the Terror Act. Extraordinary. What message does that send out? Does that say to you, the police are our friends? The judges are our friends? Or does it say to you, they will slam down on anything that doesn't meet their agenda? What's that about? How can people who broke the nose of a female police officer be wandering around? And how quick was the media to only say one side of the story until the full video was shown? The full video. And you saw how that situation unraveled. And then the backpedaling. It's shocking. Shocking.
It's very knee-jerk, isn't it? And that's the problem. That's the problem with the whole Trump campaign, isn't it? It's just knee-jerk, and it's...
Well, what's the Kamala Harris campaign? This woman has been incompetent for the last four years, right? Been incompetent. And the media immediately, it's new, it's shiny, it's bright. It's like, forget the last 4 years. This is a completely different person. No, it's exactly the same person, just being repackaged. Let's not go down that particular rabbit hole right now, because you have a guest. Would you like to? I know nothing about this wonderful guest, but she sounds great.
I would love to introduce her. She has been on before. We've asked about for a second time. I would like to introduce the wonderful, the talented, the very funny Elaine Blackmore.
Welcome to the Midday Show, Elaine Blackmore.
Thank you very much.
Good.
And,
Thank you so much for allowing me to join you.
Oh, my pleasure. Any friend of Neil's is a friend of mine.
And just a little backstory. Elaine and her husband Graham run a very successful comedy club called Whole Lotta Comedy, which I'll put on the screen in a minute. There's some fantastic pro nights and open mic nights as well. I was at the open mic night last night trying out some new
That's not an easy sentence to say.
What?
I was at an open mic night last night. That's a
Well, I can do
really
it.
that's the Neil Long professionalism that we know.
I didn't even think about it. What a
No,
pro.
that's a really tricky question to do. Yeah.
I was at an open mic night last night trying out some new stuff, which worked.
Yeah.
And then I saw Elaine finish
Yeah.
the night off with her Edinburgh preview.
Oh,
And
yes.
I've had the privilege, which Elaine will tell you in a minute, of knowing the whole backstory and how you got from where you were at to doing Edinburgh previews and the people you met and the stuff that you've done along the way. It's a great story. It's a very hopeful, uplifting story as well. And this is what your Edinburgh show is all about. So
What's the Edinburgh show called, Elaine?
It's called Invisibility and Beyond, like Buzz Lightyear, Infinity and Beyond.
Oh, I see. Right.
Invisibility
I got it.
Beyond.
I got it. Very good.
And I will point out, it's Elaine and her husband's fault that I'm back into comedy now.
Oh, Christ. Well, in that case, bye-bye. Thanks very much for coming. Great.
Don't be so rude.
God damn.
Don't be so rude.
You could have warned me. You could have warned me. Stop it. Put her back.
That wasn't me. But really,
it was the ghost of comedy coming back.
To hear really the whole story, how you got from just the backstory, how you got to this point now, and it is ultimately a really uplifting story of where you're at now and everything you've done along the way and all that sort of stuff. So we thought we'd invite you on to give us a bit of a heads up about it and have a chat.
Brilliant, thank you. So the whole essence, I don't even know why I'm going. My husband has pushed me into this and said I need to start telling people. And I think he's right from the feedback I've been given. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. So I was a civil servant before then, very happy in my job, never expected anything like that to happen.
Cool.
So that it's telling people about my whole journey, finding out from the first day when I found out, from missing my original mammogram because I'd booked to see a show and I didn't really think mammograms were that important. So I'd
Elaine.
Which a lot of people do. I went the following week instead, found out that I had cancer, had to have it removed, but then it became infected. Then it tells the story of, going through chemotherapy, losing my hair, then the hair growing back. The person that grows back is your moustache. I mean, how unfair is that? After waiting for your hair to come back, you've got to shave it off immediately. So then deciding to leave work because I'd got to the stage where I was well enough to go out, but not well enough to go to work. And it was just doing a church.
Was that because you couldn't concentrate? Was that, Elaine, because it's a subject, unfortunately, I know a little bit too much about. Was that because you couldn't concentrate?
I couldn't, yes. I felt I was okay to go out for a couple of hours with friends, but I wasn't well enough to do a commute to London, sit there in an office, talking to people, and just the whole work thing where you have to really focus and be accurate with what you're doing. And it was going to the doctor every month going, can I have a medical certificate? And in the end, I thought, I've had enough. I'm going to take early retirement, which is what I did. And then, because things come up to you in life that you never expect to happen, and you've got to deal with that. And I think it's a case of how people choose to deal with it. And a lot of people think cancer is a death.
I always say, Elaine, you're absolutely right. It's not the cards that you're dealt, it's how you play the hand. And I think that's how you get through life. But
nobody could have predicted you would play the hand the way you did.
Absolutely.
Because what happened next has resulted in an Edinburgh show, an inspiring story, an incredible rise to success in a completely unrelated field. And I might add, and you didn't mention this in the show, I suppose it'd be awkward to do, but giving opportunity to so many people as well, so many wannabe and up-and-coming comedians, and being so generous with stage time. And Elaine won't say it, I'll say it for her, but her and her husband are so encouraging of the up-and-comers, so generous with the stage time, and they coach and they nurture
Wow.
And they put people sometimes when they rise up through the ranks on the pro bills. I've seen several names do that from the Whole Lot of Comedy stable. So I just thought I'd throw that in, because if you won't boast, I'll boast for you, Elaine.
Thank you. And my husband Graham, he's very, very good. He can see people, and so he does a lot of the coaching and supporting in that way. I just say yes, you can come on and perform. But yeah, Graham is the master behind. He has an eye for what makes people laugh. He tells me as well, you really should add a bit more comedy in. And maybe there will be a little bit of comedy at the end as well. I think I've actually got round to agreeing with him that it does need perhaps a little bit of comedy. But I've met incredible people along the way. I've met Ed Byrne and Milton Jones purely by having cancer. And like you say, it's how you deal with things I could have sat back and said, my life is over. But really, sort of like 85% of people with cancer, breast cancer, now live for a good 5-10 years. So I'm just trying to get that message out there that, so yeah. I mean, I've lost a lot of friends and family through cancer, and it does depend at what stage it's picked up. But for people,
and the other thing to know, of course, is that the medical science and the medical treatments have improved so much over the last 20 years.
Absolutely.
But that must not be forgotten, because it's so important. It is not an automatic death sentence, as everyone always says.
And the NHS are brilliant. They are absolutely brilliant. And to have free mammograms, people should take advantage of everything they're offered. And while it's still there.
Well, it will remain there. It will remain there. But think about this: if you lived in America and you live here, the difference is enormous. Enormous.
I certainly got my national insurance stamp repaid in full, I think.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Yes, absolutely. So
you went through the treatment, but then how did comedy come into it?
Well, I was doing this show for the fundraiser for the church, and someone at the end said, "Are you a comedian?" And I went, "No." And then my husband said, "But you used to be really funny." I was like, "You used to be really funny."
God. Before I married you, Elaine, you used to be really funny. What happened?
Absolutely.
I want my money back.
And so he got me involved in a comedy course, and then I just got hooked there. And after turning up at various events and having to bring someone all the time, he said, "Why don't you just set up your own club?" Because there was nothing in this area, because we live sort of around the Kingston Pond Thames area. There was nothing in this area at that time for brand new people who just wanted to get on stage.
Do you know what, Elaine? Elaine? There's a load of things that you're saying that I so applaud, because one of the things I so strongly believe with in life is, if you want something, and my mum used to say it, if you want something doing, do it yourself. If everybody, no, but it's true. Everybody says, no, you can't do this. You can't. Do it yourself. If they don't want to get off their backside and do it, that's absolutely fine. It's down to them. It's not mandatory. And you can show, and you are a living embodiment, what is possible.
Yeah.
You've
just
possible.
got to live. You've got to live your life to the full for as long as you have.
Yeah.
And that's my philosophy, really, and enjoy it as much as you can, because it's not here forever. My auntie used to say, "When your number's up, your number's up," and I believe that very strongly.
Well, you know what? It's. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. Getting away from comedy, going back to your diagnosis, etc. Okay. One of the, and I'm going to phrase it like this if I can, Elaine, all right? One of the most negative things you can do, but it's a very human reaction, is you get terrible news, terrible, the worst, and you go, "Why me?" And I think that's going down a rabbit hole that leads to madness, because the real question is, why not me? Life is a complete random lottery, just random. if you start to look for reasons, I think you go nuts. And did you ever think?
Yes.
Did you ever think, oh God, why me? Or did you think, well, here
I
we
did
go.
think, oh, this happens to other people. It wouldn't
Doesn't
happen
to
to me.
Yeah.
It was just, because don't be stupid. You must have got it wrong. But it is one. I didn't so much go, why me, but more than why this early. I still felt like I'm not sure really.
I remember
I didn't get depressed.
It was towards the end of lockdown, and you contacted me to go on your podcast. And for some reason, you knew that I'd done comedy before, and you knew about my career with Capital and all that sort of stuff. And no one had really mentioned that to me for years. And I was like, oh, so there are people that remember that. And I remember going to this club you set up, which was in a pub in Surbiton. It's closed now, called The Castle. And I actually used to DJ there 25 years ago, literally. And it used to get massively busy on a Sunday night. And it's been through so many iterations since then. Its final one was the Whole Lot of Comedy Club in a room at the back. And I remember that. And they were wonderful, wonderful nights. And it's just, I certainly was, I'd done it second time round, but very early stage, trying out new things. And one of the joys for me is watching my contemporaries, people that started, albeit second time round for me, but at the same time as me, watching how they've grown. That must be lovely for you as well, Alain, because you obviously had you and Graham have a lot to do with it. You gave them the opportunity. I'm thinking of names like Madame Chandelier, Martin Graham, off the top of my head, Liam Tully.
They've been fantastic. And we've actually, a lot of ours are like Raj Pujara. They were all there at the beginning when we started, because we're coming up to our 5th year now. Raj Pujara's on the books. You can get him. Yeah. Who else? Daman Bamra. All really, really strong comedians in their own right now, and who will soon not be able to. I won't be able to afford them soon to come on our nights, because they are doing.
Here's a question for you, because you've said something a few minutes ago, and I've been mulling it over while I've been listening to this. And Chrissy Richardson's watching in Spain. Chrissy, I haven't got the time right now to explain about the Olympics opening ceremony. If you didn't see it, I haven't got the words. It was I just haven't got the words. All right. Right. Here's my thing. I don't think you can teach comedy. I don't. I've never thought you can teach comedy. I think somebody can either do it, or you can teach techniques. You can teach some stuff. This is just my personal opinion. I don't think you can teach people to be funny. People are either funny or they're not. What do you think?
I think it's when you're standing on stage, it's different to being in the pub with your friends.
Totally.
It's a case
People
of
don't get that. People don't get that. Oh, you should see my said Fred, he's hilarious. Right, go up with a mic and keep the room entertained for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Try a 5-minute spot. You'll die on your ass.
And they could, but when you're amongst friends, everybody knows the backstory. Everybody knows what you're talking about. So for 5 minutes, you can say, oh, and I was down at the our local the other day, and Joe came in with his dog, and the dog bit his bum, and it was hilarious. And everybody laughs, because everybody knows the dog and the Joe, and everybody knows it. If you just got up on stage and said that, everyone would go,
it's irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of comedians, they will start with something either self-deprecating or saying something about me. I look like someone. And it's just to create that familiarity with the audience, something in common, something familiarity, just that rapport to start with. I see so many comedians do it. There's a wonderful guy, what's his name? Chris Cray. And he's one of yours as well, I think, at early days. And he looks like a cross between Prince William and Prince Harry, and he does. and that's his opening line, because he's bald and he's ginger, if that makes sense. And he says, "I'm what would have happened if Prince Harry and Prince William had another brother." And everyone just takes one look at him and they go, "Yes, absolutely." And immediately there's familiarity there, I suppose, isn't there? I think your magic, Elaine, it's just you're just so personable and friendly, if you know what I mean. No one feels. You wouldn't be scared to sit at the front if you were comparing. Let's put it that way, where most people are. You're very warm, you're very friendly, and it's very endearing, I guess.
We do at Whole Lot of Comedy, we do try and have nights which I would want to go to. I don't like being bullied in the front row. I hate it. I hate it. So I don't tend to do that. I'll talk to people and be nice, and if there's something funny that comes up, great. But I wouldn't put somebody on the spot and make them feel embarrassed or awkward.
Two things I'd like to ask you, Elaine. Two things I want to ask you about comedy. One, I've always felt if you're doing what they call crowd work, and there's some brilliant people who do crowd work, that's very clever, very funny, very spontaneous. If you're just being really aggressive to somebody, A, that's nerves, and B, that's not an act. That's just being rude.
And it's not funny either.
It's not funny, and it's horrible for the person that's being picked on. Absolutely dreadful. But I always found, because I used to write for a lot of comedians when there was light entertainment, so to speak, and they were the most depressing people to be around ever. It was awful. And I went back to corporate, because I much preferred the corporate world to writing for these people who were the most depressed people I've ever met. And I know
there is that stereotype, isn't there?
Oh, and they're off stage, not funny at all. I mean, you don't want them to be hilarious because that's just exhausting, but they're completely different. And it's like, I don't want to work with you.
But I found with the professionals, they've been so wonderful. I've had the privilege of meeting on Mr. Lilly, Milton
What
Jones.
a nice man. What a nice man he is.
The best, such a gentleman. Such a gentleman.
I'm friends with his sister on Facebook for some reason. We sometimes chat on Facebook. Don't know how that came about, but it did.
I was introduced to him when I was doing the Edinburgh Fringe, and he doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. He doesn't have to be nice; it's irrelevant. And he was so charming and invited me to the show, and as his guest, and he couldn't have been lovelier. Same with Tim Vine and people like that. They're really very, very nice people.
The people at the top of the game are so lovely and humbling and just wonderful. They're just complete respect for the club and everything that when they come. So I'm not going to say if I haven't come across any comedians that are miserable. I love them all.
The funniest thing, Neil and I, as you know, both worked at Capital Radio for many years, a long time ago. And one of my comedy heroes was Frankie Howerd. I just loved Frankie Howerd.
Did he not?
No, and all of that. And it just made me laugh from a kid. I loved it. I even had an album, Frankie Howerd Live at the Establishment Club. Can you believe that? That from God knows when that was. And we were doing an outside broadcast. It was called Party in the Sky. And Frankie Howerd was one of the guests, and he was sitting there on a mat reading a paper. And a wonderful woman who I worked with at the time called Rona Martin. Rona came up to me. I'm laughing because there's one of my comedy heroes, and I won't go up to him. And she goes, "Frankie Howard's in a bad mood. Go over and cheer him up." Well, of course I couldn't. I didn't. I said, Rona, I'm not going. I'm not going. I can't possibly. What do you want? Hi, Frankie. Da, 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 da. It was just, oh man. He didn't take his Mac off the whole time.
Who are your comedy heroes, Elaine?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, Dave Allen has to be my hero. I think. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, what? Do you think he was incredibly ahead of his time?
Oh, I mean, he'd still be top of the game today.
Yeah.
If he was that, unbelievable. I loved it.
Talent. What oh my God. I used to sit with my dad, and that's why it's a happy memory for me, Elaine. Thank you for even bringing that up. And Dad and I would watch Dave Allen and just love it. It was so clever and simple and cool.
Who else?
Who else? Sorry, I interrupted. I apologise.
Who else did I grew up with the Goodies. I like the Goodies.
Yes.
So that was
Loved
crazy.
them.
Obviously, Monty Python was there. So I'm quite old. With my a lot of people may not even have heard of some of the shows. Morecambe and Wise, obviously, and their breakfast sketch to the stripper is fantastic, where they have to toast to the music. I don't know if you've seen that one. I even like Benny Hill and
Dick Benny Hill.
Just mad.
Apparently it's really hard to do those Benny Hill chases. They look easy, but apparently, they do at the end. It's really, really hard to do, and it takes a very, very long time because they're actually walking. Then it's just sped up. They're not running, and I can't fully explain it. I can't remember how it was told to me, but apparently they're not as easy. They're not as easy.
Sorry, Elaine. Look at this from Paul Claridge. This is shocking. Would you like to read this out, Neil? This is absolutely shocking.
A couple of months ago, I went to a comedy night at the Gunmakers with a friend of mine. One of the so-called comedians made a big point of being autistic and made jokes about it, but something didn't seem right. After the show, while chatting with him, he admitted to me and my friend he wasn't autistic. He just said it as it was funny and a hook for the crowd. My friend went ballistic with him as she has a brother who's seriously autistic, and she was not impressed that can't fit anymore.
What a shitty thing to do. That's disgusting. I'm sorry, that's despicable.
That's not playing the game.
A lot of comedians do.
There are so many comedians.
I can't process that, Elaine.
With disabilities. There's so many out there with disabilities who are hilariously funny. That is appalling.
Yeah. I'm friends with an autistic comedian, Stephen Catling. He's another one you've given lots of stage time to. He's doing well now. He's on the pro circuit, or certainly on the cusp of it. But he's definitely autistic. Why would you make? Because I know a lot of comedians, they tell a lot of stories.
I'm boiling
and
now.
You sometimes don't know if they're true or they're just a bit true and embellishing, or it's completely made up. But I don't think I would make up a disability for comedy purposes. No.
That's shocking.
That
he needs to be called. Paul Claridge, he needs to be called out. He needs to be called out. I'm sorry, that's disgusting.
So how long did it take you to put the show together, Elaine? Was it 40 minutes? Is it a 40-minute show?
It's a 40-minute show. With questions and answers at the end. There's I started writing bits down when I first had cancer, and I actually put in a one-act play to the Corner House, which won as a one-act play, and then it's just been sat in the box for 4 years. I think because somebody else performed it for me. When I pulled it out last year and said, "This is what I'm going to be taking," I read it through for the first time. I cried more then than when I had cancer, because I was actually rereading everything that I'd written in all my kind of diary notes on what had happened.
That's tough.
And I thought, oh wow, did I go through that? Was that me? And now I've got to the stage where I can just go out. But I've found the audiences that have seen me have been incredible. Majority, 1 in 2 are affected with cancer at some point in their lifetime. So I'm hoping that half the Fringe come and see me at the Fringe. It's CC Blooms on the 3rd to the 13th at 11:15.
Where's it going to be? Don't rush past that, Elaine. Where are you going to be on that?
It's going to be CC Blooms at 11:15 in the morning. It's called Invisibility and Beyond, and it is a story. It is a story, and it is a bit of a roller coaster. But I promise you, spoiler alert, I live at the end. So we will be. There is a happy ending. not that sort of happy ending, but everyone will go out happy. And just trying to say to people, just, yes, something horrible's happened. We've got to deal with it. Don't just sit and be miserable for the rest of your life, however long that may be.
Were it not for cancer, do you think you'd be doing what you're doing now?
Oh no, I'd still be a civil servant going, I want to retire. When can I go?
Well, I'm not saying you have to have a terrible experience for wonderful things to happen.
No.
But not saying that at all. But it can be a catalyst, can't it? And it's like you say, your whole outlook on life now, because we talk about mental health a lot on this show, is, live your life fully. Don't wait to retire to be happy. Go and do something wild and crazy with your life now. Live it to the max, live it to the full. Yeah.
We're sharing a room with, we've got a B&B house up there. We're sharing it with Mike McCabe, who's actually Troy Hawke's dad. He's taking his show there all about the Frank Carson story, which is about the love behind Frank Carson and what comedy meant to him. So his time in the war, his time being brought up with this.
Well, you and Graham put a lot of that show together, didn't you? Because I came to see that at the Corner House.
Lavinia's coming over, so we're sharing the house with. Do you remember Lavinia Draper?
Of course, I remember Lavinia. Describe Lavinia to Russ, because how do you describe Lavinia?
Yeah, how do you describe a word that means Lavinia? But like the sound of music, she's absolutely. She's won the best musical, best comedian performance in New York. She's a resident of Stonewall. She's coming over. She's going to be performing at the Street and all over Edinburgh. She's bringing her show, Doing Time with Lavinia, and it's a cabaret musical. Yeah, you actually, I think you actually saw her show that she did at the Corner House.
We did. I came with Emily Kate, and it was at the Corner something in Merton Abbey Mills, not Corner House. Corner.
Oh, the Colour House.
Colour House.
Yeah, and she is amazing. You go out thinking, what have I just seen? She's got to be seen.
The closest I could describe her, Russ. Do you remember the Kenny Everett? Yeah, she's musical. Her whole shtick, her whole act is the failed Broadway artist, and she's turned to
I like that.
Turned to drink, and this is what's become of her, and all that sort of stuff. And if you imagine the Kenny Everett character, Cupid Stunt, do you remember her?
Of course.
The over-the-topness of her, but musical. That's the closest I can describe Lavinia.
I like that. Yeah, that's my cup of tea.
Normally calling someone Cupid Stunt wouldn't be a compliment, but it is. And going back to Mike McCabe, the Frank Carson show, that was brilliant, because I know you and Graham had a lot of involvement in that. But the way he had him, the mannerisms, it was incredible.
Oh, he's playing Frank Carson.
Yes.
I only have one Frank Carson story that Tarrant told me. I went to it stemmed because I was having a conversation, and I went to see a live recording of Generation Game or something, and Frank Carson was on it, and he was driving. Well, I think it was Generation Game, and he was driving everybody bloody mad. He wouldn't shut up, and he kept yelling from the wings. And Forsyth at first was amused, and then was not amused, right? And then I was telling this to Chris, and Chris said, "Oh God, I was doing some show with Frank." And then eventually you drag Frank off, and then Frank goes to the bar, and he keeps going with the act, and it goes on for hours till like 2 a.m. And then even Chris went to bed, and he could hear in the room next door was Frank Carson. Frank's talking, doing the whole routine and gag after gag. So in the morning over breakfast, Terence says to Frank Carson, says, "Frank, I couldn't get to sleep last night. All I could hear was this conversation. Who was in the room? Nobody." He was talking to himself the whole time. He never stopped.
Well, Mike,
so it wasn't an act. That's who he was. That wasn't an act. That's who he was, which I think is amazing.
But Mike McCabe has got him. Absolutely got him perfectly.
Oh yeah. Because he was with Frank doing the shows at the same time, because he was one of the comedians when the comedians were on. So he knew
Yes.
him so he's probably the oldest performer at the Fringe.
Funny, but people, do you
But
believe?
that's how a lot of them started. I remember that show, The Comedians. It's where
And
people
copycats. Don't forget copycats.
Jim Bowen, I think he started about that. It was all that from that crop, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The only person I think who's still going from that, and I could be wrong, would be Mick Miller, who is still very funny, very clever. Mick Miller.
Wow.
Do you believe, Elaine, because it's your area of expertise, that people are born with what they call funny bones?
I think you have to have a funny element within you. You have to, like you were saying earlier, you have to be funny, and the teaching is just how to present that so it becomes as funny as it possibly can be.
You can polish it. You can polish it and edit it and take advice. And believe me, I love that. It's a hard process, but I admire and I thank the people who've helped me over the years. It means a lot. But I'm going to say it. I'm going to come out and say it. I had no idea what Neil Long's comedy was like. I've known Neil forever. And I went along with I'm not saying low expectations. I had no expectations. I wanted to support my buddy, right? I was crying with laughter. I thought it was absolutely freaking hilarious. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be kind of Neil coming on and doing Neil stuff. And it killed me. I mean, he killed that night. He absolutely killed.
Well,
and
I heard his new stuff last night, I heard his new stuff last night, which is very good.
Thank you.
So you have to keep watching him.
No,
thank you for letting me perform that particular one. I think we both know the one we're talking about. That was a debut for that one, and it worked, which was nice.
But Neil, we've talked about this before, and Elaine will pick up on what I'm saying. It's a huge leap in the dark. Because when you're pacing up and down your kitchen, doing your routine and honing it, and you go through, this is hilarious to this is shit, and then you come back to, no, it's okay. You go through that huge self-doubt. It's a massive leap of faith. Because once you've started on the stage, once you've started that route, you've started. That's it. You can't stop.
Well, I have a red, amber, and green rule. I don't know how you do it, because we're all comedians. We all do this, so we've probably all got some system like this. Red means tried it once, that's never going to work.
No,
bye, gone.
Yes.
Amber is kind of it's got something but needs work. Green is straight in. And last night, I'm pleased to say we're all green.
Oh, Stan Boardman, you're absolutely right, Scott Lyons. Stan Boardman's still very active on the comedy circuit. Charity Golf Day recently. Yeah, Stan Boardman. Do you think that...
You're flipping in and out.
What I was going to say to you is this, that comedy is a very personal thing, isn't it? It's a very personal situation. What some people find funny, others don't. But if you don't find it funny, that it doesn't mean it's not funny. It just means you don't find it funny, which is fine. There's lots of huge comedians. I don't even smile, but that's me. It's okay. I'm not saying they're not funny. I'm saying I don't find it funny. Do you think that's the golden rule? Elaine?
You're in and out a bit, so I've missed quite a bit, but I think what you don't.
Can you hear me any better, Elaine?
It is personal. So some comedians, Graham and I. So you're going in and out. Sorry.
Don't know.
Can you hear me any better, Elaine?
From the late greats that have gone before. I've had Bobby Davro on before. I would have any of them on. We're not the type of comedy that they did in the past is not always acceptable today, which is difficult. But that wouldn't stop me having them on if they were funny and they suited my audience. I wouldn't want anyone to be offended or anything, but I think a lot of the and they'd have to rephrase things, but the late greats are fantastic.
What happens, Elaine? What happens, Elaine, if they say, Elaine, can you hear me? What happens if they say to you, sorry? and I'm really getting lost here. Elaine, what happens if a comedian says, "Sorry, I'm not changing my act. It's that. That's the act." What happens then?
Then I'll say, well, I'm really sorry, which I have done, but you're not going to suit our audience. I'm not saying you're a bad comedian, but I have to provide the audience with what they want.
But have you heard the act before?
My audience.
Have you heard? Let's say, have you heard their act before?
99% of the time, I will have heard the act before.
Okay.
Yeah. So on our open mics, I won't have heard.
Yeah. All right. But with Bobby Davro.
Yeah. So Bobby's an entertainer.
Yes, he is. Absolutely. But a lot of people might think, and he'd be the first to say it, oh, I don't like that stuff in 2024. It was okay when it was, but it's not okay now. But Bobby's not going to change that, is he?
Bobby's set is Bobby's set. If that goes down well with the audience, then that's great. And so what he likes and what he doesn't like is irrelevant, providing he performs what my audience likes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, you know what you're going to get, don't you? You know what you're going to get if you've got Bobby Davro on the bill.
And he's a lovely person.
Yes, he is. He is.
Very involved.
Very funny.
Involved in mental health as well. It was there's a friend of mine called Lynn Crilly, who's an author and filmmaker, and she makes films about mental health. And he's going to be in the next one. I'm in it as well with Nikki from Radio Jackie. I think me and Nikki are playing husband and wife. Perish the thought, but he's quite involved in the mental health field as well.
You should be so lucky, is all I've got to say, Neil Long.
She should be so lucky. Excuse me, young man.
Oh yeah, of course. I didn't realise that a very talented, attractive young woman would count herself lucky. Silly me.
Silly you. I think yes, that's a fact. Scotty's question is comedians that are no longer with us.
Yeah,
Elaine, if you could put on a dream lineup, I mean, who would you have on from anyone in the past? I mean, Freddie Starr, for example, or I don't know.
I definitely
Laurel and Hardy.
Allen would be.
Oh yes,
a number one. Laurel and Hardy are outstanding. They are yes, they would have to be on. I mean, my dad was a great Abbott and Costello fan, but that's going back a bit too far. And Bilko, do you remember Bilko? He was brilliant.
Are you kidding? I loved Bilko.
Then,
may I say, Colonel, sir, you are looking most charming and well today, sir. What do you want, Bilko? God, love Bilko.
Mr. Ed. Sorry,
Mr. Ed. No, you can't bring a horse on stage. You can't bring a horse on stage, Elaine.
Lucille Ball.
Right.
I love Lucille Ball too.
Did you see that film they did? And I forgot what the hell it was called. A couple of years back about Lucy and Desi Arnaz. Did you see that film? Oh, it's great. It's really good.
I didn't see that now.
Okay.
Great.
No. So, here we go. Helen Lederer, naturally funny, says Paul Claridge.
Yeah, very nice woman.
Name.
I will write that.
Very nice, very nice woman.
Elaine, good luck with the Edinburgh show.
Absolutely.
It was really nice to see your preview last night. I thought you delivered it brilliantly because you're a natural storyteller, and maybe it needs addressing because it's not an easy subject and it's a subject that affects a lot of people. But to be able to put the message out there, not only can you survive, but you can thrive and then make massive dreams come true afterwards. Things that you would have never done.
Absolutely.
And of course, you don't need something bad to happen for good things to happen, of course. But that's just how it unfolded. But what you've done since, and I've had a front row seat to the whole unfolding of Whole Lot of Comedy with you and Graham, and I say you've been so generous with me and stage time and stuff like that. So just good luck with everything.
Absolutely.
And you probably got me thinking about future projects at the moment. But after this, what's next apart from booking lots of top names and putting on funny shows? What comes after?
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen. I'm open to anything.
Well,
So
Elaine,
just
I'm
see
going to
what life
say
brings.
that. Elaine, I'm going to say this, if you can hear me. In a miserable, dangerous, grim world, it's wonderful to have people like you who've not only come through dark times, but exist to cheer up other people. And I think that's fantastic. What a worthy cause.
My girlfriend
Thank you
comments
very
on comedy. She started coming to a lot more comedy since she started seeing me, and she says it lightens life just to go into that room. And I love the vibe of a comedy club, just being in that environment and performing and being in the environment as well. It's one of my favourite environments to be in. It's just wonderful. And she's right. It does lighten life. It lightens life an awful lot.
Elaine, good luck up at CC Blooms. You're on at 11:15 in the morning at the Edinburgh Fringe.
And if you'd like to check out their website, it's www.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sorry if the technology was a bit in and out.
Yeah, www.
wholelotofcomedy.com, and you can check out the acts and the bills that they have coming up, because they've got some fantastic.
What a very charming lady. What a very charming. You know, I've got a brain like a pizza most days. Have I met her at your home? I have, haven't I?
Yes.
Of course I have. I'm going around the bend.
Yes, and she's been on the show once before as well.
I can remember nothing. Not about Elaine. I mean, I can't remember anything. Ask me to sing the lyrics from an advert from 3,000 years ago. I can do it. Ask me what I have for breakfast. Well, I don't have any.
No,
But
I know.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy stuff. Very, very nice woman. I love the fact that she has done something very special and turned something ghastly into something positive. And very few people have the ability. Very few people have the ability to do that. Very, very few indeed. Elaine, absolutely our pleasure having you on the show anytime. People go, well, why do you like comedy so much? And I go, and I meant what I said. I wasn't being just polite to our guest. I'm a cabbage food and not case. Crazy for those cabbage nuts and raisins. Can't remember the rest. I don't know the lyrics. That's for Fat Scotty. Ross, please sing the advert for Frank Muir's cabbage fruit and nut. So, I think the world's a very dangerous place. You know I do. I'm pretty grim. I'm very angry. And I think heading for civil war. I've said this for ages. I do believe it. And comedy is a wonderful safety valve. Comedy keeps us going. It keeps,
because you can laugh at all the things you're not supposed to laugh at.
Absolutely.
You can say the things you're not supposed to say in polite society, and that's great. And it is a really it is really a good release. Yeah.
The whole thing about getting offended, though, is I agree with Ricky Gervais that the fact that you're offended doesn't mean I'm offended, etc., etc. Which brings me back really to the opening of the Olympics. Millions of people found it deeply, deeply offensive.
Why? I never saw it.
Oh, then we can't discuss it. You have to see it.
Well, give me an idea why.
Blasphemous, satanic.
Really?
Yeah. Really. I mean, the Olympic Committee have since apologized, but that's ridiculous because they knew what it was going to be. It's pathetic. Pathetic. I'm going to put my hands on a hornet's nest here.
Okay.
And it's very dangerous what I'm going to say.
Go on.
A lot of it was, I thought, perverted. And you've known me for years. I am liberal with an L. I don't care. I've not been a good, squeaky clean guy. Very, very far from it. And I thought a lot of it was just perverted.
Perverse how?
Well, if you're standing there with your testicles on show, I think that's pretty perverted on a show being shown to millions of children.
Really?
Really. Yeah. And my view is this, and I know this is going to be controversial. All of my gay friends and my gay relatives, my gay cousins who I adore adore, and all my gay friends who I'm very close with, want nothing to do with that. They don't want anything to do with that. And I think when you push it to that extreme, you're doing the whole cause that, equality for gay people, stopping it being criminal acts, etc., which was always mad. I think it hurts that because people are not that nuanced. And people see this and go, oh, well, that's just gay. Well, that's not what gay people are. Gay people, the vast majority, just want to get on with their lives like everybody else. They don't want this kind of repulsive,
and done in their name. And all the wonderful gay people I know, they wouldn't be at all interested in that.
We shouldn't. I
like
feel
you and me, just gay. That's all.
We're just, no one cares.
No.
No one cares. It's fine. But it wasn't just my view. I thought, well, I'm going to ask my relatives who are gay what they thought. And they said, they're doing this. It's awful. We don't want anything to do with this. This isn't who we are. That's not what being gay is. This is just some sort of weird perversion. And I'm just very curious how such a tiny minority, I'm not talking about gay people, I'm talking about the people who take it to this bonkers limit.
Yeah.
How they've managed to get such a sway. I don't understand it. I just don't.
No, I don't.
And I think you're on very, very thin ice when people say, I'm not religious, by the way. So people say, oh, you're a religious. I'm not religious at all. I don't have religious beliefs. Spiritual, yes. Which is why I love my work as a celebrant. But religious, no. Mm. And so if you mock the Last Supper, which to billions of people is very meaningful. If you mock it, and then you say, no, you're so stupid. We weren't mocking the Last Supper. We were mocking the Last Supper. We were mocking something else. You know they're backtracking. You know it. You know that. Backtracking. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. And when I mentioned, I sort of didn't say all of that on Facebook, but when I dared approach the subject, Neil, it was like, oh boy, I got piled on by some people who won't read the post. And my main point was, it would be a horrible shame if the athletes who've worked so damn hard for this and really tried, and their dream is to represent their country and do well, got dragged into the mire, or should I say the merde of that. And there were good bits of the opening ceremony. Of course there were. Celine Dion, the light show on the Eiffel Tower, etc.
I thought she was too unwell to work, Celine Dion.
She didn't look well. Let's not kid ourselves. She did not look well. Boy, oh boy. She didn't look well. I haven't seen the documentary because I'm not a huge Celine Dion fan. Because, boy, she looks so unwell. And we wish her well because she is a God-given talent. What a talent. Magnificent.
I love her version of It's All Coming Back to Me Now. That is beautiful song.
God. Goosebumps.
I know.
Goosebumps.
Absolutely beautiful. I'm not personally a major fan of her music. She's one of those people where I can recognize an incredible talent, but I wouldn't buy her album, put it that way. But
no, it's not
I'd recommend it to someone else, if you know what I mean.
I know, I'm with you all the way. But, that's an interesting thing about life. The fact that you, an experienced fellow, can say, yeah, I recognize talent. Doesn't mean that I have to particularly like it, but I recognize that. I wouldn't buy it for myself. I'm the same. I wouldn't buy one of her albums. It's not my cup of tea at all. It's not my type of music.
Apart from It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which
is just amazing. Fantastic.
Do you know who wrote that song?
Give me a clue. No.
He wrote for a very famous rock star, and it's all very kind of rock opera.
Was it? Oh, hang on. Jim Steinman.
Dramatic.
Is it Jim Steinman?
Yep.
Whoa.
And he did a lot of writing. He did most of Meatloaf's writing.
Yes, he did.
And Meatloaf did that song.
And became very religious. Jim Steinman
Did
is dead now. He passed away some time ago. He became very religious. Yeah.
Yeah. Meatloaf did that song, and I think Barry Manilow did a version too. I think.
Oh, I can't see that. Ooh, I can't see that at all. See, I love Barry. Barry Manilow again. I get. What if would I buy his album? No. Do I think he's a fantastic entertainer? Absolutely. I think he's terrific. He captivates.
See, I would buy Barry Manilow's album because I love his songs. Paul says, I practice Buddhism. I've done for a long while. We chant, we do gongyo and get ridiculed by those who are ignorant or don't understand. Well, chanting is a very good way of focusing the mind. It gets the mind in the right vibration, shall we say. It's like chanting, drumming, anything vaguely hypnotic, which promotes focus, 1 point focus, and that is important in Buddhism.
Here's the thing. Can I ask you this, Neil?
Can I tell the only joke I know about Buddhism?
Go on.
And it's not offensive, Paul. Bunch of Buddhists on a protest march. What do we want? Nothing.
Paul Claridge, being a Buddhist, went up to a hot dog stand when he was
I
visiting
know
New
this
York.
one.
He was visiting New York, and they said, "What can I do for you?" And Paul Claridge said, "Make me one with everything." And Paul gave him a $20 note and stood there, and nothing was happening. So he said to the hot dog vendor, "Where's the change?" And the hot dog vendor said to Paul Claridge, "Change must come from within."
Why did the Buddha not succeed at hoovering?
I don't know. Why did the Buddha not succeed at hoovering?
Because he had no attachments.
I didn't see that coming.
And I say that with love, Paul. I'm sure you're not offended by that.
I didn't see that coming at all. What's he saying? Nam Maho. What? I have no idea what that means. What is that? Has he told you to get stuff?
Thank you, Paul. Send some good vibes my way, and I'll send them right back.
Oh, bless you. Excellent show. And thank you, Fat Scotty. Excellent show today. My turn now. Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm going to say one thing because I know how busy you are and you've got to go. And I've got quite a bit.
Namaste, Paul.
I'm just going to ask you this. Look at what he says. We get ridiculed, says Paul Claridge, who's a very nice man. We get ridiculed by those who are ignorant. Why would you ridicule somebody if it's doing you no harm? It's doing you no harm. You know, that's what Paul believes. And Paul's been through hell and back and continues to do so. You would not want Paul's life. You wouldn't. All right? Paul won't mind me saying that. You wouldn't want his life and what he's been through and what he's had to endure. Okay? So if you find solace and peace with this, why would you ridicule it?
Because people are scared of what they don't understand.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
Got it.
I can understand that chanting focuses the mind. It gives it 1 point focus. And if you talk in kind of new age terms, it will change your vibration, if you like, and make it higher, which is where you want to be. That's when you feel more one with all things, so to speak. Raises consciousness, shall we say. Raises consciousness.
And you know
Am I right, Paul?
And if it works for Paul and it works for other people, good luck.
Yeah. And many things do.
Good luck.
Yeah, meditation. The word meditation and the words medication have the same root from the Greek medere, and it means to heal. So, and science backs that as well. So,
you're an interesting fellow, and nuanced is the word. Have a wonder. It's been lovely being back together. It's been a while because of.
Thank you, buddy. I've missed you. I'll see you Wednesday, folks.
I look forward to it. Okay. Until then, take care. Bye, everybody.